Okay, children. So, in this lesson, we will have the three artists, Pablo Picasso, Salvador Dali, and Vasily Kandinsky. Now, each of these artists, they had their own technique and medium, and they were inspired with either Cubism, Surrealism, or abstract art. Now, with Pablo Picasso, if the question is about write short notes or appreciate the art style by the artist of Pablo Picasso, Salvador Dali, or Vasily Kandinsky, the following are some of the very important key terms that you will have to relate and connect if Pablo Picasso is asked, or if it is based on the man with violin, or if it is based on Cubism. So you will have to make a connect to these keywords and make a connect to the art with their artworks. Now let's see the following points that will lead to an example for Pablo Picasso. And now the two important periods, the famous periods that was championed during Pablo Picasso was Blue and Cubism. So he was also considered as a father of Cubism. Apart from Paul Cézanne, that we already know was championed or pioneered the Cubism technique, Pablo Picasso was yet another genius painter who adopted the Cubism in his painting. Man with Violin was the famous artwork created by Pablo Picasso, and there is another great painting termed as Guernica. Guernica is painted by Pablo Picasso, and it was based on the Spanish Civil War. So the key aspects for Pablo Picasso are Blue and Cubism, painted Man with Violin and Guernica. Guernica was based on the Spanish Civil War. And if you have to mention a little more detailed fact about Pablo Picasso, we can add on the detail that he is a genius painter. He was an artist, sculptor, ceramist, all together. All of these key words that are highlighted in green goes to the for writing about Pablo Picasso. And he championed Cubism along with abstract composition. So apart from the Cubism concept that he used, he also was greatly inspired by the abstract composition, and he was one of the most admired artists. Now these are some keywords that you can keep repeating. If you have seen pioneer, championed, admired, inspired, these some common terms that we have been using in the following videos will help you to understand that these are art related terms that will be required for you to frame your answers. Moving with the last point, Man with Violin was an example, excellent example of analytical Cubism. So there's yet another key term, analytical Cubism, to be followed for Pablo Picasso. Now moving from Pablo Picasso, we are going to another artist, Salvador Dali. Now as I have taught you the technique that S for Salvador and S for Surrealism. So relate the keyword of Surrealist art to Salvador Dali. And Surrealism is the style of Salvador Dali. Basically he adopted the realistic technique. So what technique that he adopted? Being a surrealist artist, he adopted the realistic technique in his painting. And what is the example of the artwork of Salvador Dali is Persistence of Memory. So Persistence of Memory was one of the artwork of the surrealist painter Salvador Dali. Now what do you see in Persistence of Memory? We see that there are melting clocks, there are landscapes, ants, which are not regular elements of an artwork, but rather it's quite absurd. So Salvador Dali, when we kind of relate as a surrealism, we already know what to define. In our previous video we have defined what surrealism means. Now, the most real forms of the objects are presented in a very unreal or absurd ways. So that was the Salvador Dali's technique that he adopted. And moving on further to Vasily Kandinsky. So Vasily Kandinsky was a famous abstract artist. Now again here, Pablo Picasso to Cubism, Salvador Dali to Surrealism, and Vasily Kandinsky to abstract art. So he was a famous abstract artist, and under Vasily Kandinsky, he basically introduced three main series. Now what are the three main series? Are Impressionisms, improvisation, and composition. So these three series are the main series for the abstract artist Vasily Kandinsky. Now basically it's an example of simplicity in pure diagrams. So very simple way to exhibit the diagrams is the abstract kind of an art. It's the imagination that comes from the artistic's feelings, which is portrayed in a very simple way. And the medium that he adopted was oil on canvas. All the three artists here mentioned, they used oil on medium as their medium, oil on colors as their medium.